Be honest. Can you afford a Tesla? Now, most people, most responsible people, will most likely say, no, I can't afford a Tesla. It's an expensive car and I have all these bills here and I only make so much money here, so it doesn't add up for me. Now, in most of those cases, I'm going to respectfully disagree. I believe that most people can afford much more than they think they can afford. And I'm not talking about maxing out your credit cards and going into debt. I'm talking about very much financially responsible ways of freeing up the money that you never knew you had. Now, I'm going to give you a series of tips and small lifestyle changes that you can implement into your day-to-day life. They'll free up enough money for you to be able to afford a Tesla. Now, these are not the little tips that I kind of Googled around and repackaged in this video. Every single one of these tips and little life hacks I have created myself and implemented myself in my life to be able to afford not just one, but 2 Teslas. I currently have 2 Teslas. As a matter of fact, I'm able to afford more stuff than people who make the same or more money than I make. And I'm by no means a rich guy or make a lot of money. I make a relatively average salary for the area where I live. It's just the way I manage my money, with very small little changes compared to everybody else, I'm able to have so much more in my hand to be able to spend on stuff like, having a Tesla or 2. And by the way, if you're not specifically looking to buy a Tesla, maybe you're shopping for a different car or just want to afford more stuff on a monthly basis, or simply put that money away in your savings or retirement accounts, it's the same strategy that you would implement, because basically the goal here is for you to free up a certain amount of money that you don't even know you have. Now, this is a series of videos where I explore each topic in a separate video because I want to go in depth for each of them to make sure that you guys understand and I can explain every single little thing that you need to do in order to be able to get closer to the goal of freeing up a chunk of money on a monthly basis to be able to afford a Tesla, or just like I said, anything that you really want. Now, the topics that I have already covered, I'm going to link to them in the description of this video, so please check them out. But I strongly encourage you to subscribe to this channel right now so you don't miss the future videos moving forward. Now, this is the very first video of the series, but instead of just jumping right into the very first topic, I actually wanted to walk you guys through the top 10 most important tips I'm going to offer you so you get a better idea of what kind of lifestyle changes you're going to make, because they're really going to be minimal. I really don't want you guys to think that you're going to have to get a second job and do all these major lifestyle changes. It's actually quite simple, and you will be able to tell how simple and silly some of them are, because there's some of this money is really for you to just reach out and grab that you just didn't even know you had in front of you. So I'm going to walk you through them. Now, you're welcome to get started on some of them, right? Some of them are self-explanatory. You can get started, and by the time we explore them in the future videos, you kind of already had a jump start and maybe give it some more thought about how you can implement those for your particular lifestyle. Okay, let's jump right in. Topic number 1, how much does a Tesla cost? Now, I can't tell you how much I hate when people say that, how much does something cost? That means that they give up right away. They assume by just asking that question that the control of the price of an item, lies with the seller. Where the control for the price of the item should rely with you, the buyer. Be on your own side. Try to actually bargain the price down. I don't think I'm blowing your mind with that concept. So the correct question to ask is not how much that costs, but how little I can pay for it. Let me give you a quick example. If I pull 5 random people who own an iPhone 7, let's say, okay? I can almost guarantee you that all of them paid a very different price for the same phone, right? Some of them got it for cash as soon as it came out, paid top dollar. Some of them not only did that, they also financed it through a third party or their cell phone carrier. That means they pay finance charges on top of that, so they end up paying almost $1,000. But other people waited and bought open boxes, slightly used phones, refurbished phones. Some of them waited until the new version came out and paid even less. So all these people paid very different prices for the same item. The same goes for almost everything else. In my example, for my Tesla, I actually paid about $20,000 less than everybody else who paid for that same car. Now, how did I do it? There's so many little moving parts that I'm going to explain in the video that I make specifically for this topic. I'm gonna go in depth, but anything from government incentives and the referral program all the way to leasing the car instead of buying it, and getting a demo car or inventory car instead of brand new one, and also making sure you don't get the options you don't really need. And for that, you need to educate yourself on the product that you're buying, and therefore you're going to continue pushing that price of that car, of that Tesla car, whatever it is that you're buying, down and down, and you're gonna get sooner or later to the point where you can afford that. Now, another way you're going to save simply by buying an electric car is because you don't have to spend money on gas or maintenance. Even if you get the worst electric prices, you're still gonna cut your gas bill in half and then not have to pay any of the tune-ups or transmission changes or oil changes at all. Now, I'm sure you don't care whether you're going to give this money to a Chevron gas station or take that money and put it towards your lease payment and therefore being able to afford a higher lease payment. As you can see, there are tons of different ways how you can actually chop at this price and finally get it to a very reasonable number that you can afford. I'm going to talk about all these different ways how you can get there in the next video, so please make sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss that one. Okay, number 2. How much money do you earn? How much money do you spend? Most people don't know that. Do you? If you do, kudos to you, but most people don't. And think about it. Actually, a lot goes into the number that you earn, for example, right? There are bonuses and overtime and 401k contributions. And at the end of the year, you have to figure out how much money you paid in taxes, whether you deserve a refund or you have to pay extra. And really, only at the end of that year, when you do your taxes, you can finally say, okay, this is how much money I've earned on average per month. And it is a very important number to know, because if you don't know how much money you earn, then how can you make good financial decisions? Which brings me to my second question is, how much money do you spend? Most people don't know that either. And they especially don't know what they spend that money on. Some don't have any even idea of categories that they actually have in their life that they put their money in. And even if they do, a lot of times they don't know how much goes into each category. For example, can you tell me how much money you spent on, let's say, dinners and going out last month? You'll be surprised. Most people are surprised once they start keeping track of this, how much money they waste or that they spend more than they thought they do. And this is where you have to kind of get a hold of your finances and figure out where you're spending this money that you really shouldn't be spending, or where you could spend less. Now, there's a very simple way how to keep track of all of your money, and it's called mint.com. It's actually a free website that I myself use, and it helps me a lot. It's created and it's owned by Intuit, which is actually a very reputable financial company, so you can trust them with your finances no less than you can trust your bank, for example, with your online banking. So it's very secure and it's free. It works very simply. You actually plug all of your accounts where you pay or receive money in and out of, so that way, this mint.com system knows exactly about all of your transactions. And once you do that, you start teaching the system about which transaction belongs to which category. And by the way, you have to create your own categories. That way you're kind of in charge of what type of spendings you have, and that way it will be much easier for you to figure out if you're spending too much or too little, which is almost never the case, on some of your expenses. And at the end of all of that, you're going to create budgets or kind of limits for each category that you've created for yourself, so you know when you're spending too much, and then that way you at least can say, oh, you know what, I spent too much on this. How can I, keep that down? At least you know that you have to work on a category or two in your monthly finances, in order to be able to keep yourself within your own budget. So that's very important. And lastly, I'm going to mention spending cash. Most people have no idea where the cash goes, so we'll talk about why you shouldn't be spending cash, and you should be spending everything out of the accounts where you can track. Number 3, secondary income. And don't be scared. I'm not talking about getting another job or even a part-time job. I'm talking about money that you just don't know you can easily reach out and grab without making much effort. I'll give you an example. And again, I'm going to explore this in a separate video because there's too many things. And again, they won't all work for you. But I'll give you an example of how easy it is. So for example, you can get on the list of a company that does marketing research. So this is a company that might come to your home, or you're gonna have to come to their offices, and for about an hour or two you'll sit around, maybe with other people, maybe by yourself, and give your opinion about the products that you've already using or some new product that they introduce to you, and they will pay you. They'll pay you anywhere from $50 to sometimes $300-400 for your opinion to talk about the products you might be already using or interested in using anyway. That's easy money. Sometimes, you know, companies that you do business with will just send you an online survey and you can earn like 20 or 30 bucks, but those take only about 10 minutes, so it's still very much worth it. As you can see, it's easy money. Now, a lot of people also don't realize that they can earn money by little skills that they don't even realize they're skills. You know, if you like kids, you can babysit, right? If you like pets, you can pet sit or be a dog walker once in a while. I'm not saying do this like, you know, 30-40 hours a week, but if you do it even once a week and it's actually fun for you, you're going to earn some extra money that will all add up at the end of the month. For example, you can also earn money with your voice. If you have a nice voice, there are websites where you can sign up for, and people will pay you money to basically read off of the text that they will give you for their training materials, for their commercials and so forth. And all you need is a mic and a computer, and you can earn money on your own time just by using your voice. And there are tons and tons of other ways how I can tell you you can, you know, earn this money. And of course there's eBay and Craigslist and Facebook sales and just so many different ways how you can earn money with stuff that you never knew is worth money. And of course you can sell stuff that you don't need. We're going to talk about how you should really get rid of things you don't need, because they will also give you some money that otherwise you wouldn't have, and you're not using those items. That's important, and that's why there's eBay and many other websites that will help you out with that. And last thing that I mentioned, again, the list is very long. I'm going to dedicate an entire video to this, but you know, this is not for everybody necessarily. But if you have an extra room, or if you're leaving your home for a weekend, you can Airbnb it, right? You can actually have somebody else live there and pay you pretty good money, sort of like they're using a hotel, and then you hire a very cheap cleaning service that the buyer pays for, and there you go, you made some good money while really doing nothing. You can do the same thing with your car and many other items that people are willing to rent. Again, not for everybody, not everybody wants to share their personal stuff with other people, but I'm just saying this is yet another way how you can make money with something that you already have and have to put almost no effort into. Number 4, plan your purchases. Oh man, planning goes a long way in life in general, but especially when it comes with purchases, especially major purchases. Now, those major purchases are rarely an emergency, something you just have to buy, right? Now, okay, if your TV breaks down and you need one like within a week or so, yes, I understand how you have to go out and get the best deal you can. But most of the time, television sets, appliances, cars, all those things can be planned out even a year, 2 years ahead. But even if they're planned out 2 or 3 months ahead, you still have plenty of time to get a pretty good deal. So planning your purchases is very important. And as you know, you can get great deals on items all the time. Before almost every holiday, you can get that item on sale. After each holiday, you can get open boxes or used items that people realize they don't need. They return them, and you can buy them at a hefty discount. Now, of course, if you're waiting for a certain item to come up on sale, Amazon will notify you when something goes on sale if it's on your wish list. Groupon has tons of different sales for items that you can say, well, I'm looking for this item. Finally, when it goes on sale, you can go ahead and buy it. So when you can wait for a sale, you're obviously going to get a much better deal than you decide, oh, I need something and I'm gonna go and get it for whatever price it is available right now. And we talked early in this video how you should be in control of what the price that you pay rather than the seller. And by waiting for the right moment because you have time, this is how you're able to control how much money you're spending. So planning for your purchases, especially large purchases, will save you a lot of money. Number 5, credit score. It is extremely important to have a good credit score. Well, you should start with knowing what your credit score is, and I'm going to talk about where you can get that credit score, which is actually almost anywhere right now, including your credit cards and your bank, but there are better places to get your credit score than others, and I'm going to talk about it in the video that I'm going to create for that. But the credit score is extremely important because this is pretty much your credit worthiness. This is, you know, for people who are going to lend you money or do business with you when you have to pay them on a monthly basis, to realize how good you are at paying that money and how good you've been in paying those money to people that you've dealt with before. This is very important because in a lot of cases, people simply won't sell you stuff. Like, for example, if you don't have a good credit score, you won't be able to lease a car. You won't be able to buy a house. The worse your credit score is, the least a number of places would be willing to do business with you. Now, even if some people will do business with you, if you have a low credit score, that will literally cost you money in interest rates. So the lower your credit score is, the more you're going to pay for it. That's why it's important to have it as high as you can. Now, there are a lot of different ways how you can actually get your credit score higher than it is right now. Of course, you know, the starting point is to know what it is, but I'm also going to talk about what you can do to up your credit score. Of course, the key to it is to never miss a payment. Make sure you pay the money to people that you owe that money to on time. That's a general premise of being good with your credit history and your credit score. And of course, we're going to talk about services that monitor your credit score, because you want to make sure that you're always aware when your credit score changes, when something goes wrong in your credit history. You always want to make sure that you have an opportunity to fix that, and you can't do that if you don't know. So you definitely need to subscribe to a credit monitoring service and understand what is happening to your credit. Now, this is a big topic, and I'm obviously going to dedicate a separate video to it, and this is why it's very important that you subscribe to this channel right now so you don't miss that video in the future. Number 6, where to live. Now, people hate when I talk about this topic because a lot of times it may mean that they have to move, and nobody likes moving, right? It's hard to move because you have to break a lease. It's not always easy to sell a house. In general, it costs money and it's a huge hassle to move. But when people make bad decisions about where they live, this is where it ends up costing them the most. This is why it's important to make that decision right in the first place. And if you end up in a wrong location, or you end up paying too much, this is why you actually have to suck it up and decide that, you know what, I'm going to look into moving and see if I can actually end up saving money in the long term. You know, obviously it's easier to do if you're a single person, or even if you're a couple without children. I understand if you're a family with children, maybe some grandparents living in the same household, it's much harder. But sometimes it's even more important to make the right decision or correct the wrong decision that you've made in the past, and to make sure that you live in the right place. So for example, if you live in an apartment complex with a swimming pool and a jacuzzi and a gym and a movie room and so forth, you're actually paying a significant amount of money, sometimes $200–300 more than if you were living in an apartment complex that doesn't have those amenities. But the amenities that you end up using, which is usually a gym, let's face it, if you're going to use amenities, most of the time it's a gym, that only costs you anywhere from $20 to $50 a month. So you end up wasting so much money just by living in an apartment complex with things that you don't really need. As a matter of fact, you will find that this is a topic in a lot of my videos, that a lot of people spend money on stuff that they don't really need. So this is one of many different ways how you can actually live in a place that will cost you less money, and yet your lifestyle will still be the same. Again, huge topic. It's different for different types of families, whether you're single or not, and kids and so forth. So we're going to explore it. But where you live matters, and this is where you can make really expensive mistakes for your budget. Number 7, take people up on their offers. They are everywhere. For example, there is absolutely no reason for you not to pay by a credit card. Most of the time, credit cards are accepted everywhere, and you should pay using a credit card. Not for the sake of getting credit, because you should definitely pay your credit cards off at the end of every month. I recommend automatic payments for that, but because almost every single credit card will offer you 2 types of rewards. One is for signing up with them. You can get up to $500 for simply getting a new credit card with some conditions, but most importantly, almost every credit card will give you either a cash back or points towards your, you know, some travel or airline or whatever it is that you might be using. Sometimes it's gas stations. So there's always rewards that if you're not using credit cards, you're literally leaving money on the table. So you got to do that. Reward programs. make sure you sign up with the reward programs of the services and products that you buy on a regular basis. From your grocery stores to your sandwich shops, all of these places will make sure to reward you with mainly with either cash or discounts because you shop there often. So if you haven't signed up with every single one of them, you're definitely leaving money on the table. And again, this is kind of a theme of this whole series, is people leave money on the table, they spend more money than they should, and this is how they should get that money back. And of course, you can move bank accounts. A lot of I just literally made $500 by moving banks. Just for that, created a checking account in the new bank. I have to keep a certain amount of money for 3 months, but I'm going to receive $500 for nothing. That cost me about 20 minutes in one trip to transfer money from one bank to another. So make sure to take advantages of the offers that are everywhere around you, that are pretty much effortless, but all of that adds up. You can make $50, $100, $200 a month taking advantage of these offers by changing absolutely nothing except for telling all of those service and product providers saying, yep, I'd like some of that money back. Number 8, and a lot of people don't like this, but save when you are going out. I'm not saying go out less. I'm saying there are ways to save. I mean, the very basic way to save is if you're going out, there are plenty of events that would actually sell on Groupon, which usually gets you half off of your tickets, of a lot of different things. So the events and the entertainment that you otherwise would pay full price for can cost you half of the price simply because you're going to buy them through Groupon. Now, another way to save money is, for example, when you're going out. A lot of people go out to dinners, almost never to eat. Not because they're hungry. Usually it's an experience for people, right? To kind of get out of the house, see other people, experience maybe some live music and so forth. Now, instead of having a full dinner at the restaurant plus drinks, you can have that dinner at home and go out still to the same restaurant just for the dessert or drinks. You still can spend just as much money there and people watch and just be outside of your home, but you're going to spend so much less if you end up, having dinner at home and then going out for just drinks or the dessert. That can save you hundreds of dollars per month depending on how much you eat out. You are still getting the same experience, and I cannot, stress that as much because I'm trying to tell you that a lot of these changes are really not that major. It's just a little tweak. And again, dinner at home versus dinner at the restaurant, 5 to 10 times cheaper. There are a lot of other ways how you can save. Now, not all of them are for everybody. For example, you might say, you know what? Dinner is something I want to have at the restaurant and I don't care how much it costs. And that's fine. And maybe other things that are not for you as well. But the things that are for you, and there are tons of them, I'm going to go over all of them, at least all that I know in the video that I dedicate specifically to this topic. If you even take up 2 or 3 of those little changes and implemented them into your life, you can save a significant amount of money, and that's what it's all about, right? Saving the money without compromising your experiences and your lifestyle. Number 9, and I hope you're not surprised by this one, but stay away from brands. I don't know a person alive who doesn't know that paying money for something that has a big label on it will always cost you much more. And I'm not talking about like, hey, why don't you get a regular purse versus a Gucci purse? I mean, that's kind of given, right? I'm talking about even small purchases. Like, for example, if you're going out to get Advil in your local grocery store, I'm almost guaranteeing you that right next to that Advil, there's ibuprofen, which is a generic that's probably made by the brand that owns the store that is much cheaper. Usually it's 20-30% cheaper. Exactly same ingredients. But most people buy Advil because that's what they know. They may not really realize that that's exactly the same thing. But it is exactly the same thing. It's really like getting a generic drug versus a brand name when you get a prescription medicine, and I'm pretty sure everybody knows that those are much cheaper. Same goes for the over-the-counter brands, and this is one of many examples. Same goes for clothes. For example, when you buy brand names, they're almost never worth the 2, 3, 4 times more money that you're going to pay for them. They are not that much better of a quality, if at all. So buying brand name clothes is another thing how you can waste a lot of money without getting the actual quality for it. If you're an Apple customer, I know you love your Apple, but to be honest with you, an iPhone is very similar to Android and very similar to Windows phones as well. If you are buying Apple products, I guarantee you're paying a lot of money for almost the same set of features. At least at this point, there's really not that much of a difference between an Android phone and an iPhone, except for you can pay almost double for your Apple phone, and on top of that, your insurance is going to cost you even more if you decide to go and insure your phone on top of that. Same goes for laptops and a lot of other Apple products. There's almost always an alternative that's just as good, sometimes even better, at a much lower cost. So that's another way how you can really overspend money for something that you're really not getting that much extra value for, because you're shopping with a particular brand or a brand in general. And finally, number 10. Are you exhausted from saving all this money yet? I hope not, because we went over a lot of topics that will save you a lot of money if you tweak things here and there. And just like I said, it's not all of them for everybody, and I'll go over a lot more different options for you in each video that I create for each topic. But let's get to number 10, and this is watch where you shop. It is important where you shop, and again, much like with when you shop, it is important where you shop. For example, if you're shopping for fruits and vegetables at your grocery store, you are definitely going to pay more if you were to go and buy one at a fruit stand. As a matter of fact, the quality at the fruit stand of almost all products are going to be better than your grocery store. This is like a no-brainer example. Now, of course, if you shop at places that allow you to have reward programs like we talked before, or using coupons, if you're into that, that's important. We already mentioned Groupon and other services like Living Social. They provide 50% off usually in different places. So if you go to a particular store or a particular service that does do business with Groupon, you can always go through Groupon and save some money on exactly the same thing. But overall, there's always a place somewhere around the corner, somewhere maybe a few blocks or few exits away, that will sell you exactly the same item for much cheaper. I'll give you one last example. If you're shopping for a car, if you go to a dealership in Beverly Hills, for example, shopping for, let's say, a Toyota, you will pay much more than if you go to a Toyota dealership somewhere, a distance away in a smaller town where maybe people make less money, when there's maybe less demand, but those Toyota dealers have to pay less for their rent, for maybe less for their employees and so forth, so they can sell you exactly the same car for cheaper. And all it really takes is maybe a 20-minute drive, and you get a much better price. So make sure that you know where to shop for certain items, so you get the same items at a cheaper price. And again, that goes back to my very first point, is that you should be in control of how much money you pay, rather than the seller of the item that you are buying. That's it. This is my top 10. There are many more other topics, because I have so many more tips and little life hacks, just like I said, and I'm going to continue making videos for those. Please make sure to click on that subscribe button so you will be notified when I upload a new video that covers a topic that we either went over in the video today, or some new topic that I'm going to be talking about in the future. Each topic should be able to help you. Each topic should be able to find you extra money on a monthly basis for you to spend and enjoy. So that's it for now. See you next time, and remember to stay charged.